My name is Jalen Joanna. I am a native New Yorker. I am a daughter, I'm a niece, and I'm a really wonderful friend. I'm also a YouTube personality as well as a public speaker regarding transgender awareness. I was born and raised in New York. I lived in many, many places throughout my college years and throughout my earlier years. Once I decided to live in my truth and own who I am as a woman of the transgender experience, I decided to settle in New York because of the opportunities and the things that are afforded to us here that aren't in any other state or any other county in the United States. So it's been a very difficult experience. It's an experience that I would never, ever take back any day that has ever occurred due to the fact that it's allowed me to be the woman that I've always known I was. And it's allowed me to show the world exactly the person that I've always known I could be. It's been difficult for my family, but it's turned into an experience for them that has elevated their enlightenment to not only me as a woman, but the rest of the world. It's caused me to lose a great many things, but I always think of it as those things never really belonged to me because I wasn't living in my truth during those years. So now I've been able to create a world that truly is mine and I own it. And I'm so very proud of the journey, even though it's been extremely difficult, eye-opening, challenging, but I consider it a gift being a woman of my experience because living in this skin and owning this skin has been the greatest gift that the universe could have ever given me. The violence against trans women of color is nothing new. It's something that has been occurring since I've ever even known the word transgender. It is something that has occurred in communities of colors for years. And the reason is because trans women of color, I'd say until about 5 years ago, had so many hurdles and obstacles in their way in regards to allowing their gender expression of who they are to be matched by all of their legal IDs. Existing in a world where no one really cares about them and they are shunned from their families because of religious beliefs within the communities of color. It has allowed a lot of unfortunate mishaps to happen to us because if your family shuns you and the community shuns you because of religion and because of their beliefs, we're alone. You're on your own. So when you're forced to do things that you would never normally do, one of them being selling your body or being put in positions where you just are afforded a little bit of food, being able to eat, or thinking that you're going to have a safe place to stay, and those people turn around and then take all of their frustrations and angers out on you. It goes unreported. No one really cares because in the world's eye, to them, you don't really exist. Because if your IDs don't match and your image is not accepted and you can't be accepted within everyday society, then what choice do you have? You have no choice but to be alone and to exist outside of society. So if you're existing outside of society, then you feel that your life never really mattered. And that's the reason that it happens so much in communities of color, because if it was happening to another community, let's say a white community, where Caucasian people were just randomly disappearing for no reason, or ending up in the Chelsea Piers, cut up and dismembered, or just nobody is ever found, that is something that would set this world on fire. But the fact that we as people of color are disappearing, our skin doesn't have the complexion for the protection. So if we don't feel protected and validated by our own communities and by the legal systems and by the judicial systems, then we have no one. So we're basically protecting each other on our own. And that's why it occurs so much in our communities. I'm really thinking about every girl that I've went to a funeral for. And it's like really hitting me right now for some reason. And it's making me like, yeah. I'm thinking about my girlfriends down there right now.
Do you want to take a moment?
No, okay. On the Chelsea Piers, I know where they are right now because they don't have any other choice. And they feel very alone. And they've always wanted somebody to kind of speak up for them. And it's just really unfortunate that we have trans women of color that are in the media and in, who have a platform to speak. And it's like, it doesn't reach the people that it needs to reach. And it's like, we don't know what else to do, because everything is going on. The world is all happy because of Biden. Like the election went our way and all of these people are happy. There was a blue wave and there's no more red walls and blah, blah, blah. But 3 days ago, we lost another girl. And it's like, how can Black lives matter if they don't matter to all Black people? And when I said that on my social media, it got a lot of flack because it's like, oh, your lives matter. Like, why would you say that? And I was like, well, tell Black men to stop killing us. And it's really unfortunate because race plays a huge part in the reason that Black trans women are being killed exponentially. And it's not just Black trans women. It's women in Brazil, all of those other third world countries where trans women have literally no rights, and it's actually legal to kill, people who are in what they call like the perverse lifestyles. I don't even know what that is because people don't understand what being transgender is. And when we get pushed into a category where we do not belong because we don't technically belong in the LGBT movement, because that's about sexuality. This is about gender. They're two totally different movements. So they really don't coincide with each other. And that's why we don't even get respect from the people who are in our quote unquote movement. Because it's like if white cis gay men would stand up for us, if white cis lesbian women would stand up for us, if Black gay cis gay men, would stand up. Nobody wants to stand up for us but us. And it's like our voice doesn't have a microphone in front of it at all times. Their voice does. And it's not fair. It's like, okay, our movement is, we made our movement and we got to where we want to go. Now you guys get there on your own. And it's like, but Marsha P. Johnson is the reason that the Stonewall riots occurred. It was because of a Black trans woman. So we're not given our just due even then. So they get their rights, they get everything that they want, but they leave us behind. And it's very frustrating because, we don't get respected and we're hurt and we're crying out for help and nobody wants to help us. So we have to help ourselves. And that's why I'm like really excited about, the Transgender Awareness Week, because especially it being in Wisconsin, because it's in a community that is not inundated with people of color. So they're able to see me and hopefully they can see themselves, because that's the way that I describe myself. I am someone's niece. I'm someone's daughter. I'm someone's friend. I'm not just a transgender woman. I don't even say that I'm a transgender woman. I'm a woman of the transgender experience, yes, but I'm so much more than that. So if people can see me as more than just a body that was murdered, or a body that is selling herself, or a body that is doing this, or a body that is doing that. I'm a person. I have goals and dreams, and I want family, and I desire everything that everyone else on this planet does, which is validation and to be heard. You know, I don't want any more, any less. I'm not looking for extra, exclusive. You know, it gets so frustrating because it's like, what do we have to say to get our point across? What do we have to do for you to see us as human beings? I'm not a tranny. I am not a trans person. I am not a transgender. I am Jalen Joanna. I'm so much more than I ever was taught that I could be. And I'm so much more than I ever thought was possible. Because living in this world in the year 2020 going into 2021, the world is opening up to me because truth has set me free. And if other people could see that and see that, wow, once people live in their truth, look at what happens to them. But people are so afraid of living in their truth, they would rather sell themselves, kill themselves, or put themselves in situations where they end up dead, unreported. No one cares. It's just another black body. That's how the judicial system and the police view us. It's like it's just another black person, so black on black crime, it doesn't matter. No, it's so much more than that, because these girls are not looking to fool anyone. They're not looking to hurt anyone or put anyone's business out there in the world. They're looking for love. They're looking for acceptance. They're looking for validation, and they think that they're going to find it in the arms of these men. And then when these men are confronted with their toxic masculinity and their fear of being outed for loving a person of the trans experience, they would rather take that trans person's life than admit that they love that person. And that's how it happens. Because of the shame, because of the scarlet letters that we wear as transgender people that we didn't even put there ourselves, that have been placed upon us by communities of color that are so inundated with their religion and their interpretation of the Bible and their twist of it, and they're calling us abominations and things that we are not. But we wear these labels, unfortunately, and oftentimes a little bit too proudly. And that's what pisses me off at times, because I just wish that people could see that when you see people of color who are the trans experience, who are acting out, who are loud and boisterous, they are doing it because they are tired of being shunned and put away and put under a couch like an old piece of luggage. They don't want to be in the shadows. They don't want to live only at night. They don't want to be somebody's fantasy or somebody's fetish. We are so much more than what is between our legs. And that's how the world views us. And until the world views us differently, then what do we do? Like, what do we do? Like, do we have to have more rallies? Do we have to have more parades? Do we have to have more, like, what else can we do? And that's where the frustration comes in. I'm just tired of going to funerals. I'm tired of watching my sisters disappear. No body ever found, and no one cares. Never is it getting reported on the news. Never is it getting reported on YouTube or the news channels or the news networks. No celebrities are speaking about us. Very few that do, they don't get the airplay. So it's like, I just wonder, if it was white trans girls that were disappearing, what would that look like? And there's no difference between us besides the melanin in our skin. But until this world changes with its racist beliefs and the, what this country has been built on, what this world has been built on, who knows? I just want to be a part of that change. I really do. I always said, if my voice could change one person's mind, then I've done my job. Transphobia is, if you break it down into the word trans and phobia, phobia means fear, trans is change. So it's the fear of change. So, especially within any community, let's talk about the entire world first. The entire world is fearful of change. You can see it in the election of what just happened. People get very comfortable in what they know or what they don't know. And there's a fear of enlightenment, I feel. People don't want to know more than they already do. People don't want to see the world differently than they already do because there's so many blinders and so many sunglasses out there. It's like the world is so comfortable with having the light dimmed. In communities of color specifically, because it's something that I know very well, in the communities of color, 99.9% of them are religion based. It's very, very inundated within religion. Religion is very important to communities of color because I feel as though disenfranchised people tend to need something to latch on to make sense of everything. It's like, okay, if God's got us, all of this stuff that's happening in the world doesn't matter because heaven is always. There's a line in The Color Purple that says, she's like, Miss Seeley says, when Sophia comes in the field, and she's like, you know, she said, you told Harpo to beat me. And she's like, this life be over soon. Heaven lasts always. And Sophia said, well, you better bust Mrs. head in and think about heaven later. I love that scene because it's like, this life be over soon, heaven lasts always, and those old Negro spirituals being attached to, well, God is in his holy temple and he's going to make everything matter to us and so on and so forth. And it's just something that's been passed down generation to generation, and it's just something that we're inundated with from the time that I can remember. There's a fear of change. And I think that if we had allies from women of color, cisgender women of color, that didn't fear us or think that we were the enemy or think that we're trying to take their men or think all of the things that are incorrect about us, then there wouldn't be this bashing to black men, because black men are public enemy number one. Let's just call a spade a spade. It is what it is. The black man is the most feared and in danger person in this country. And they have a lot going against them. And when their own community looks at them and says, oh, if you're with a trans woman, then you're gay, you're this, you're that. It's all of these fears that take their love for us and it turns it into inner hate for themselves, so they can't hate themselves, so they end up hating us. So they're attracted to us, they want to spend time with us, they want to know us, so on and so forth. But as soon as it comes to fruition that things are happening and things are getting real, they get scared because they don't want to lose what little validity that they have in this world. And being attached to a trans woman takes their stock and it plummets, unfortunately. And then if they have their women of the community telling them that you're this, you're that, they would rather us be dead than to admit that they're in love with us or loving us or want to spend time with us. And it's not all of them. It's not, this is not a huge, putting everybody into a box. This is a large percentage of what has happened to the trans women of color that I personally know, or the incidents that have happened within the world that I have been privy to. This is what I know. I've even experienced it myself. It was one of the scariest instances that I can ever recall, thinking that my life was going to end because of someone's fear of themselves. And it caused a shift in my thinking to where I never wanted to feel that way again. So I'm even more mindful of my safety, even more mindful of where I am at night, even more mindful of never traveling alone, even more Now, these are things that all women should be mindful of, but as a trans woman, there's another scarlet letter placed upon us because women in general, especially women of color, are in danger. But a trans woman of color is like a subdivision of a subdivision of a subdivision. So it's like you don't even really exist yet. And we're making strides. We're making strides, but until the fear of us and the fear of themselves goes away, little can be done because there's a lot of things that people don't want to face in the mirror. They don't want to look at themselves and say, me loving a trans woman does not negate or it does not take away the fact that I am a man, right? So if a man can look at himself and be proud of the fact that he is a man in love with a woman who happens to be a woman of a different experience, that no way negates his masculinity or his heterosexuality. Because him being in love with a woman, of my experience, he's not in love with a man, he's in love with a woman. So everything is just too centrally focused on the wrong thing because it's focused on genitalia and it's focused on what they have been taught. So until we can relearn or unlearn what has been taught to us as a community, I don't know how long that's going to take, or until we can have the men not be fearful of themselves and not take it out on us, change is going to be a while. But we need allies, we need friends, we need people that'll stand up for us, and that's what's the most important because this needs to be national news. This needs to be world news. This needs to be something that is spoke about on a national platform, that people come out and say this needs to stop. But it has to stop from a level that it's so intertwined with our culture. It needs to be unwound and it needs to be taken out string by string. That just takes time. Transphobia is going to take a long time. I mean, homophobia is still very prevalent in communities of color, but transphobia is so intertwined. I've dealt with it from my family. They love me now, but I've stopped looking for acceptance from them. I've stopped looking for their approval because I approve of me. I accept me. And that's the thing that a lot of trans people must let go of. We have to stop looking for acceptance and approval from outside entities and just accept and approve of ourselves from the inner. So if transphobia, if I could say anything to transphobia, I would say really like it's getting old. It's old and it needs to stop. When I first started my transition, I had been transitioning for years, about 10 years socially. When I first started my medical transition in the very beginning of the 3 years that it's been since I medically transitioned, my self-esteem was still in the gutter. Took a long time to get as proud and as comfortable in the skin that I'm in as I am now. I was in a relationship, if you want to call it that, with a guy that pretty much preyed upon my insecurities. He wooed me for a long time, and I was just very resistant in the beginning because I knew who he was. I could see who he was before it even went down. And once I gave in and allowed him to be in my presence, I felt a feeling that I had never felt before. I felt like somebody wanted to be with me. I felt like somebody wanted to love me unconditionally, and it was just very new for me. Well, very quickly it turned. He was very possessive. He was very fearful of himself. Thusly, he became afraid of the world when I was around him. And it made me feel very ashamed of who I was. And I didn't like that feeling. So towards the end, I was becoming very self-aware, becoming very confident within myself. And I was kind of pulling away from him in any way that I knew how. And he chose to show his masculinity and his assertiveness in the moment that he raped me. And he did it to where it confused me, because I was like, I just kind of stepped outside of myself before it happened, because when he hit me, like I didn't even think that that was happening. And then when he threw me on the bed and it was like it wasn't really happening. Like I could not accept the fact that this was happening to me. And then I went into a really dark place, really, really dark place, and was taking it inward instead of realizing exactly who I am and how far I've come. And I was just like, I'm dirty, I'm this, I'm disgusting, all of these things that he was telling me. Nobody would ever want me. You don't deserve love. You deserve to get hit. You deserve all of these things that he was saying to me. And it was just like I was hearing my father's voice through him, because I had also experienced some violence from my father. Nothing sexual, but I experienced some violence from my father in my very early years before my parents got divorced. And it was just like I was repeating a cycle of violence, and I didn't want that to be my story. So I made a choice to run. I made a choice to leave. I made a choice to protect myself. I made a choice to live on people's couches. I made a choice to be myself. I made a choice to protect myself. I, leaned on my family and friends, but they didn't know how to really be there for me, because I wasn't really being honest with what really happened. So it was like I was telling half truths and not being even 100% honest with myself. So I did the best that I could to get out of that situation. And that was 3 years ago. And I look back on that person that I was then, and I look at that girl, and I just wish that to never happen to any other girl ever again, because I know what it's like to feel alone. I know what it's like to feel shunned by your family. I know what it's like to feel like nobody gives a damn about you. But those are all your inner saboteur, like twisting your mind, because you do matter. We do matter. Our skin matters, our bodies matter, our minds matter. And until we can see ourselves in that light, then this will continuously happen, because it's all about self-awareness. It's all about self-love. It's all about, like, if you don't love yourself, then you're going to put yourself into situations that are not healthy for you. So I realized, like, if I loved myself, I would have made a choice to act as though I did love myself. So now I make choices that reinstill the fact that I do love me. I want to make choices as if I do love and accept and embrace myself. So I do not put myself in those situations anymore. I do not allow myself to inundate myself with negative thoughts or outside negative influences. And I don't revel in what happened to me, because it happened. I can't change it. I wish I could, but I can't. The past is the past for a reason. And once again, I do not regret anything that has happened to me in my life, because it's made me the woman that I am today. So that's how I got through it. I'm still getting through it. It's something that you never let go. It's something that will always be a part of you, but it's a part of me that I am not ashamed of. And it's a part of me that I am going to ensure that pushes me. It pushes me forward to be the best version of me that I can possibly be. I have a wonderful support system. It's a small support system, but it's mine. My mother has truly, truly, truly come around. Patience is something that you learn as a transgender person because you not only have to be patient with others, but you have to be patient with yourself. My mom is now my best friend again. We are still learning how to be mother and daughter because it's very new for her. I have a wonderful aunt who is my who is my aunt in shining armor, I call her, because she's my biggest cheerleader. And I have a very small friend circle, but I also have a wonderful sociologist and an amazing medical team that I can call at any time. They have supplied me with my HRT, which is hormone replacement therapy, all of my surgeries and things of that nature. So these are people that I can talk to via email or via cell phone or via text at any time, just knowing that I'm never alone. Because being a person in general can get very lonely. But being a person of the transgender experience can even be that much more lonely because there are days that I just, want to kind of go inward into my shell and they won't let me, which is wonderful. Mental health is very important, so I have my sociologist and my psychologist on on speed dial. I think everybody's on speed dial nowadays. But these are people that I can call on and depend on. But I become very self-sufficient and very self-aware in these past couple of years. But everybody needs somebody. Everybody needs somebody. And my small circle has really allowed me to be the best version of me that I could possibly be. I mean, I'm on my way. I'm still not there. I still have a lot of work to do, but we all do. I'm on a human journey. I'm not on a transgender journey. I'm on Jalen's journey. And that's what I have to consistently tell myself. It's a daily thing. It's a daily mantra that I have every day. I wake up every day and just say, today's going to be a good day. And I force it. Forcing a good day is fun. You should try it. And my social media followers and my subscribers to my YouTube channel have really allowed me to see myself in a different light because I get letters and messages from young transgender girls or transgender boys who are in the beginning stages, and they look to me for guidance and for inspiration and for answers for questions that I have the answers to. And it's like, oh my God, like I never knew like everything that I went through. Now I can pass on. So I think about it like, okay, I've lived my life. I've lived this really great life. And yeah, I've got some life to live. But all of the things that I've been through, the reason that I don't regret them or I don't shun them is because I can pick and pull from all of them and help someone else. So I know that I went through everything for a reason. So my support system supports me as well. Creating change doesn't happen overnight. It happens in time because, like they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. The transgender experience is still something that's very new, and it's very, it's on the precipice of being a part of mainstream, but what we need is allies. We need friends. We need people that'll take us into the next level. We need someone that will speak up for us the way that we can't speak up for ourselves. So what I say to my transgender brothers and sisters is to be patient with yourself, to love yourself, to learn how to be okay with who you are before you are looking outward, because if you are okay with yourself, and if you accept yourself and embrace yourself, there is no reason to seek validation from anywhere other than yourself because you're okay with you. You have to be patient with your family, be patient with your friends, but most of all, be patient with yourselves because transitioning takes time. It's unique to every single transgender person. No transgender story is alike, but we are more alike than not. There is a universal yarn, there's a universal thread that ties us all together, but each transgender story is individual. So that's what I say to the trans community. And to communities that are not a part of the transgender community, what I say is learn how to love yourselves greater than you already do. Learn how to accept yourselves even further than you already do, because we are not the enemy. We are not people that are seeking to destroy your families or get into your minds or have a transgender agenda. There is no agenda for us wanting to just live our lives. We want the exact same things that you want. We want families, we want loved ones, we want safe nights out with friends. We want to wake up in the morning, know that we're okay being who we are and that we are accepted and embraced by all. And we need your help. We can't do this alone. No one can do this thing alone. We need people to be able to have the courage to say that being transgender is better than okay. We are a beautiful expression of the human experience. My experience as a human being has been absolutely amazing. It's been beautiful, and it's mine. And it's something that everyone should know about, because being transgender, being not transgender, being cisgender, being non-binary, we're all the same. We're just looking for validation and love. That's what every human being wants. So if we can break down all of those walls and break down those barriers and see each other for who we really are as human beings, all of this hatred, all of this fear can end. Because transphobia, once again, the fear of change. What are you so afraid of? Don't be afraid of us, because we're not the enemy. We're your friends, and we're all in this together. So that's what I say. Love. Love is the message. Love is the answer, and love is the key. So. Yay! Was that good?
I go home and fantasize. I'm touching on myself again. In a starting, I'm alright. Don't think I need a boy like you. 'Cause I'm never feeling satisfied. Tell me what's a girl to do. The only time your lips should move is with your head between my brows. And the only time you're on